Hello and welcome to Pucknology After Dark. Well, the Sharks did it again, folks. They lose on home ice, 2-0 against the Minnesota Wild, and the streak's now at 6. We have live returning from the tank, Mr. Puck Guy himself, Eric Gura.
Good evening, guys. We are already on 280. We're making some good time. This game literally gave me a headache. I actually had to go to first aid and actually get some ibuprofen because it was a struggle out there. I will paraphrase actually Maroon 5, and I'm going to say, this season's gonna hurt like a motherfucker. Fucker.
We are also joined by Mr. Ian Reed.
Hey, it's me. I'm here. Yay.
And special guest, Mr. Comic Not Geek on Twitter, Mr. Wendell McGowan, who is the host of the Teal Tinted Glasses podcast, who is our sister podcast and co-tenant at Pucknology.net. Hi, Wendell. How you doing?
That's awesome. That's, I think, the best resume I've ever heard in my life about me. I feel, even after that game, I feel kind of good about myself right now.
It's a very incestuous relationship over at Pucknology.
If you would like to be part of the show, please tweet at any one of these Twitter handles, hashtag Pucknology After Dark. You guys know the drill. We also have the chat open, and we want to welcome all of the Teal Tinted Glasses viewers. You guys got the invite via Mr. Wendell himself, so we'd like to give a special shout out to you guys. And you can also, because Wendell is not on this graphic, you can tweet at him at Comic Not Geek.
Wow.
Yep. It's okay.
We have listeners. We have listeners. We don't have viewers.
Yeah. Well, look at us. We're ugly. There's a reason why we do the podcast every week.
Mr. Puck Guy, I will send it back to
you. We make Mike Ricci look actually sexy. Although I suckered a girlfriend into it, so say hello to Amy, otherwise known as Puck Gal. Amy, before I go off on this sorry-ass team that we love, why don't you say what you think about the game tonight?
My favorite part of the game, the most exciting part of the game, was when there was 2 awesome fights in front of the net. Some helmets went off. My favorite part. That was actually the only part of the time of the game that I actually cheered and screamed. The part that really pissed me off was the part that the refs did not call the holding that was definitely done when we was it second period?
Yeah, it was second period with Carlson
ugly
to the net.
The captain of the Wild's team definitely looked from our angle like he hooked and threw our player on the floor, and if that is not interference, I don't know what is. And then shortly after, we got some lame-ass call on us for boarding, and I disagree on that.
Well,
I'm teaching her well, aren't I?
That was a great analysis.
But basically, you know, she hit some great points on the head. That was a little interesting call there with the boarding call. You know, they were not crisp. They weren't going for the shots. They were getting more attempts on net, I think, which was nice. But
they weren't looking where they were shooting, though.
Yeah, they
were passing to the opposite team.
Yeah, they were passing to the wrong team. I will say this for the 16,766 fans in attendance tonight, and that includes several Shark Pack holders who got a free couple tickets to the game. It was pretty dead, unless for unless when Sharky was banging on his drum. This team is in deep trouble, and I guess we need to start that we're only 11 losses away from tying the Sharks and NHL franchise record for longest winless streak. Back to you, Landy.
His favorite go-to line right now is "Back to you, Landy," just for everybody out there watching. Anyhow, we got a question right off the hop, which I think we should answer because it kind of started the game.
Okay.
The question is, why did the Sharks not skate out of the shark head? I believe it was a mechanical issue.
It was injured.
Yeah. What happened was there was a tiny. Let me put my mic back in. Sorry, I was letting Amy listen to us rant about. Basically, what happened was there was like. Sorry. See, that's what happens when I put my microphone in. I apologize.
AOL.
Shut up. Don't you start this crap with AOL. Then we get all the memes, and then, Anyways, there seemed like there was a minor power outage just as the arena opened up around 6:15, 6:20. Amy and I were in the Shark store. We saw the lights flicker, and we thought, oh, mood lighting, that's very nice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so romantic to buy a $300 jersey. But we seen everything was fine, and then in the middle of the warm-ups, out of nowhere, Brendan Dillon came over to the Sharks bench, where their PR guy Ben Guerrero and the coaching staff all of a sudden noticed that the jumbotron was slowly coming down, and it landed about 10, 15 feet from the ice.
Whoa!
And I posted the picture on Pucknology, and it was very interesting to see that they kept going with warm-ups, and I believe Brody mentioned in the pregame that if it were stuck like that, they could not start the game. I'm assuming that the power outage also affected the shark head mechanism from lowering down. But yeah, it's I believe, if I correct, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, it is only the third time in team history that the Sharks did not skate through out of the shark head at the Shark Tank. The first one was the power outage off of the home opener against the Bruins in 2007, and I believe a similar outage happened that same season. So it's a little interesting. It was kind of like the proverbial bag over the shark head. They're too embarrassed to see it themselves.
And
so, back to you, Landy.
So, just for everybody in the comments talking about Mr. Puck Guy's AOL connection, this one's for you. Oh, no. Oh, no. Wrong one.
Oh.
Wrong one, it's a summer.
I can't even get the JPEG right. Oh my goodness.
See what happens.
See what happens. We can't have nice things anymore.
Nope.
Well, the whole night was an epic fail. That's okay, Landy. You're good.
Yeah.
Wow. So much love.
Yeah. We also had a second part of that question, and this was from Slushy Jake, of course, a great viewer who's always giving us some questions. He's wondering why Vincent Damphus is not being celebrated for the 25th anniversary, and that is actually a really good question. Does anybody have any?
That.
Oh, okay, Mr. Reed.
Oh man, I want to get this right. I want to say that he had some domestic issues over the course of his career.
Like Canish? Or not
no,
Canish,
like
no, the reverse the way around, if I recall correctly.
Oh. Okay.
I don't remember which way it went. I remember something along those lines, so I don't know. Like I said, I don't be really careful with that, but that's my. I don't know. I don't know. What the hell do I know?
But you make a good point, Ian, because there's a lot of these alumni nights. The guys are in the area, and I think outside Friesen, who lives in SoCal, I think Marco Sturm lives in Germany. I know Igor Larionov still lives in Michigan. There's not a whole lot of guys that they're bringing out here, and I know they only have a certain amount of dates, but it just seems like, okay, we're honoring Ricci. We see him all the time. We're honoring Matri. He's with the team all the time.
Mhm.
You know, Herbe, thank God they got him. But I mean, I would have thought there would have been more. And I'm kind of disappointed in the celebration so far this season. I thought it could have been a little bit better.
It's half-assed fan service. They're not even giving us real fan service anymore.
Yes.
Now it's just whatever was the minimum we can get away with, and not cut Doogie's tan budget.
And I finally did get the correct meme
There
up
we go.
so we're good to go now. You know, at this point, I think that the Sharks have done a lot to piss off the fan base to the point where it's, you know, just not even on the radar anymore for me at least. You know, I just kind of feel a little apathetic towards it all. You know, and so, you know, it is what it is, and it's kind of getting to that point where it's just like, you know what, nothing surprises me anymore these days. And you know, that's kind of the way that I feel about these games. I mean, had they played this kind of game, you know, to break up the home, or when they came home from that 6-game road trip, I'd say, you know what, this isn't a bad game to lose. You know, you played a good defensive structure. You had one brain fart the entire game, and that really was the only thing that put you out. And you know, for the most part, you could be semi proud of how they defended in their own zone. But you know what? It doesn't matter at this point, because now you're 6 games into a losing streak, which is the longest losing streak of the season. You've only gotten 1 point. You should have gotten at least 3 points out of a Calgary-Edmonton little trek, and what do? You get 1 point. 1 point out of 4, which is not good enough against those two teams. So you know, I just, at this point, I'm starting to get apathetic, and really just, I just have got that hollow feeling inside. Ian, what do you feel?
Yeah, you know, I mean, because it's the 6th loss in a row, I think that obviously, you know, there's a little bit of more anger here than if this was just like a one-off loss. I don't think we'd be as upset about this one. You know, the Sharks, you know, the one gaffe that caused the goal was crappy, but it was one, you know, it was just one gaffe, and the Wild were just good enough to capitalize on it. If this was a one-off game where, you know, we had won 2 and then lost 1, I don't think we would be as angry as we are right now, being as we've lost 6 in a row.
Did you guys think that they played badly tonight?
No, that's it. That's what I mean. Like, I don't think they played a bad game. I just think that, again, you know, if this was, you know, we had won 3 games and then lost this one, we'd probably just toss it aside and be like, okay, well, you know, you win some, you lose some. I think the only reason that this one's going to be under such a magnifying glass is because you're talking about losing 6 in a row now, and you're talking about Edmonton and Calgary, I believe, are behind us by a point now, and Anaheim's going to be there too. I mean, you know, it's like I said on the podcast this week. Next week we could be in last place in the division from second, like that.
And we might be.
Yeah. Of course, we have Mr. Chester Chivo saying, "Trade everyone, fire everyone," and you know, I mean, you know, I think we've kind of all really ridden the emotions this year of this team going so well at the beginning, kind of having a lull, and then doing so well again, and really
it'll happen again.
It'll happen again, right? And you know, you just hope that these win streaks and lose streaks kind of balance each other out. But at this point, you know, you're looking at a defense core that is, to put it mild, a work in progress. You're now looking at a forward core, which was a strength, and scoring and creativity was a strength of them, is now starting to kind of dip. You're looking at that bottom line scoring not being there right now, and especially when you put these line combos out there, you know, there wasn't really a lot of spark. I mean, even when you had Hurdle centering the top line, I felt that they played fairly well, but still they got hemmed in to their own zone. Just kind of lacked the creativity
I really like Donskoy on that line, though. I thought when they
It was
shifted
great.
Carlson down and put Donskoy up there, it was a nice push. Like, I like the chemistry there a lot better. I think Hurdle has a lot better chemistry with Donskoy than he does with Carlson.
Yeah. We just a couple things out of the chat. Kenji is saying rebuild, rebuild, rebuild. North Star 17 is saying being shut out by a backup at home. Yeah, no, I mean
That never happens.
Never.
yeah, we
That's our
never make
kryptonite, man.
backups look like Vesna candidates. You know that
Ever.
doesn't happen ever. So like I said, you've got to hope that they balance the win streaks and lose streaks balance out, and you really get to see what this team is. When everybody's back and the system's kind of fully implemented. But right now, I mean, we don't have anything to be happy about, in my opinion. We don't have any kind of glimmers of hope at this point in so far as what to look forward to besides getting Couture and Rafi back. And even still, there's still a lot of work to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I gotta disagree because why not?
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Mr. Teal tinted glasses comes in. I'm not seeing, as I said, we're not seeing bad games. We're not seeing these guys play like complete garbage. We're having some pieces we're definitely missing, but I'm still seeing a lot of potential in there. I mean, yes, I know that's not the popular opinion, but I really think that we do have a lot on the table now. We're still playing good games. It's just a little tweak. I know it's just a tweak.
Okay, all right. I mean, I can definitely respect that, and you know what, we've talked about it so much that you kind of get a little jaded. So
yeah,
of course we all do.
That defense is. I agree.
I think the defense, though, I think we can probably pretty much all agree that needs.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it needs to be overhauled a little bit, and the guy that you were really banking on to have. To calm down Burns is now showing a lack of foot speed and some issues making quick decisions, and this is something that we were kind of afraid of with Paul Martin, and kind of what we thought could be his Achilles heel is his speed, and I think we're starting to see that a little bit.
Yeah.
What do you think, Ian?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Hasso owes me a day back as far as I'm concerned, because I watched 2 games where no one scored.
Yeah, he'll get right on that, Ian.
Shoot, if
He
that
owes
was the
me a
case,
day.
if that's the case, then I'm owed a whole week. Holy crap!
Yeah. I mean, Eric, what did you think from the defense today?
It wasn't too bad. I think their positioning was off. Like Amy and I had mentioned before, on that first goal, Martin's out trying to take on a winger that was on the half boards at the face-off goal, and meanwhile Burns is kind of filling in for Martin's spot, and you're leaving Parisi open. And I think it was it Wingles or Donskoy who was late in the slot. And it was just a mental breakdown on that. Something that you kind of expected Burns to be that guy that comes out of the pinch, and the Wild player, if you look at the replay, was waiting for Martin to come out a little bit more, and sure enough, he waited. Once he got him out there, and he threw the puck on net. Amazing what happens when you throw the puck on the net, guys. And Parise, is wide open to take on Jones, and Jones is a little bit out of position, but really didn't have much of a chance at it either. But
Yeah,
overall, there was some pinching that, like I saw with DeMello. It's like, I get it, but you pinched at the wrong time. Everything seemed to be all right. Vlasic seemed to be okay. He had some nice breakups to get it out of the zone. But then at the same time, later in the second period, Minnesota's, twirling cycling the puck around and just, looking like, yeah, they just, like Amy just said, they outskated us and look like a fresher team. These guys look like they're out of shape and need some conditioning. And if we're doing that in game number 29, then we need to look at our on why our conditioning coach isn't prepping these guys right.
Yeah, no, I think that that's a great point. I also think that the decision making was not there. I think that we saw a lot of the forwards pull up, trying to find that thread the needle cross the seam pass that just wasn't there, and they kind of didn't get the message that, hey, this is not going to work with a Minnesota Wild team that's clamped down in the neutral zone and clamped down in their own zone. And they just didn't seem to adapt.
You know how I kind of look. I'm sorry, and I'll let you guys talk.
All right.
It was. I know. I'm sorry. I was just saying. You know, they didn't look fresh mentally or physically. Back to you, Ian.
Okay. Well, I was just gonna say, like Chris Edwards in the chat really, really summed up the play there that led to that goal. The problem was that Tierney and Donskoy got mixed up, and then Donskoy basically left his position to try and wander back to where he should have been, where Tierney was covering, and that's kind of what opened the seam. The thing is it's just, the team, the brand new lines tonight, and you're gonna obviously have some chemistry issues when you have guys playing with basically guys that they just don't usually play with. I mean, you broke up the first, like the top six was completely different than anything we've seen thus far. So you're gonna have hiccups.
Yeah.
In that whole mental breakdown with the cycling, like I had said earlier, that you hit it right there, Ian and Chris. It was Pavelski, Marlowe, and Hurdle, three centers, and they're like, wait, who's taking the center? Who's taking that? And Hurdle looked like he was going from center, then he was going back to wing. Pavelski was like out of position.
Well, they do that all the time, though. Like the Sharks, if you notice, what the Sharks will do is generally they'll pair centers that are different sticks. So you'll see that on the first line, you'll see it's it was Marlowe or Ward was taking the draw on the second line, depending on which side of the ice it was on. So that's been kind of a common thing that they've been doing a lot.
Yeah, no, I think depending on the left side or the right side hash is going to be who's going to be taking that face-off, because I've seen Tierney take face-offs but then have to pass off to Ward. I saw Hurdle taking face-offs but then pass off to Marlowe. And then, of course, we've always seen Pavs and Jumbo switching off who's taking the face-off. So I don't think that it was necessarily a switch between wings here and wings there. It was more about the pairings, and that those pairings were getting switched up midstream. What do you say? I mean, do you say keep them together and try and see if you get some chemistry going, or do you try and mix and match on the fly and see if you get something that sparks right away? I don't know that there's an answer to that question that works every time, because I think in some instances you get some guys that just kind of click that night and kind of go cold, and then in other instances you get a line that's been together for 20-plus games that hasn't done anything, but then just one night feels it. I
agree. I mean, it's almost now you got to look at, let's just throw all the forward names into a hat and see if this combination works. I'm not going to suggest going Thornton, Brown, wing goals, because I think that's going to be counterproductive. But at this point you've lost 6 in a row. You got to try some stuff because the status quo isn't working.
Oh, and Gen X of the X. So does Wilson pick up Austin Matthews when the Sharks fall ass backwards into the first pick?
We can't.
We
can't.
Boston has a pick. We lost our first.
And it's not lottery protected, so
that's okay. Don't worry. When Boston sours on Austin Matthews, he'll trade him to the West, just like he did with Dougie Hamilton and Tyler Seguin.
Yeah, but he'll go to Dallas.
There you go.
Back Dallas again.
What this could potentially be could be the Sharks version of trading the number 1 overall pick, and that pick ends up being Guy Lafleur, like the Seals did. And that
pretty much sunk the franchise.
Yeah, but you look at it, it was lifeless in the tank. I've never seen I mean, it was almost boring. I didn't hear a "Let's Go Sharks" chant or a "Let's Go Sharks" chant until
No
like
bitterness.
until like 6 minutes into the game. It was like definitely quiet, and I'm not saying the Sharks are playing boring hockey, but it was just
No,
no
it's
life
okay.
in there.
It's
It
okay.
was
You
just-
can say it was boring. It was boring. It was boring. And you know what? Tonight's attendance was in the 16,600 range. And some guys posted, Let's Go Sharks posted a couple pictures about, the attendance tonight. It didn't look more than 11 or 12,000 in there.
Mhm.
And it's just not doing well.
It's tonight. Tonight is a microcosm of the season. You had the power go out for a moment. I think some of the concession stands couldn't take cards right away. The jumbotron,
Just
slowly
gonna do a
comes
Phantom of the
down.
Opera thing.
The shark head is hiding, and the team played like crap. I mean, the brand. I hate to say it, the brand is crumbling, and this tonight was a microcosm of it. And with that, I'm going to let you guys take over because my phone is having some issues. So good night, everybody. For myself and Amy, keep it real, keep it fresh, keep it real fresh, and back to you, Landy.
I mean, yeah. You just look at the brand and you say, boy, where it was 4 years ago and where it is today, you've had losses that you shouldn't have had. You've had collapses you shouldn't have had. You've had Ice Girls. You've had Drew Remenda. You've had this. You've had that. And you know what? I mean, I don't blame fans for not showing up. I really don't, because they're finally speaking with their wallet. And you know what? The team's going to get the message pretty quick when they come and see season ticket renewals are down.
Well, they were down this year, though.
Yeah, no, down another 15%.
Yeah.
No,
I blame
honestly,
the fans. It's the fans' fault.
Yeah, it's all the fans' fault. It's the fans'
They
fault.
just support this team with just undying love.
It's your religion, people.
It's not like we're Toronto, okay? we don't pay hundreds of dollars to see a shit team.
Okay, but you know what though? Like, okay, maybe not in that respect, but now that I think of this, losing our first-round pick to Boston and with the way things are kind of going, maybe we're more like the Leafs than we are the Oilers at this point, because they both had bad management.
I think we're more like honestly, I think we're more like Calgary hanging on to.
That too.
Hanging on to Iggy, and how they hadn't traded him and didn't want to do anything while he was there, and he had his no movement, and is he shitting on the pot or getting off the pot? Well, what the hell are they doing? So I think right now the Sharks are in that mold of really either are Martin are Martin and Jones the long-term solution. Are they going to fix Patrick Marleau and Joe Thornton's issues magically together? I don't think so. They're great signings, but I don't think it's the end all be all.
I have to wait 1 second here. Just Chester Chivo's tweet was just fantastic. He said even the Jumbotron and the Shark Head are refusing to be part of the team.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you do not follow Mr. @ChesterChivo, you really do need to do. Yeah, you need to do yourself a favor and follow that man. He is an awesome guy, really funny. Well, let's talk about something interesting, and I wish we
March
had.
into this game. Sorry, I apologize.
No, I want to talk about fan treatment, and especially the season ticket holders versus people that are buying holiday packs now.
Yeah.
Who better to discuss this than 3 non-season ticket holders, let me tell you.
Well, that's why I said I wish
two guys so far away. Maybe we could make a one vacation day to go see a game. So yeah, season ticket holders. Go ahead.
Well, no, I mean you look at tonight's holiday pack kind of promo that they threw up there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's 3 games.
I wanted it.
3 games to the Sharks, 3 games to the Barracuda, and a jersey. And depending on where you're at, if you don't get the best seats, then you get a T-shirt. And we've talked with Puck Guy, and in the last year they gave him cookies, stale cookies for his gift.
Wow.
And this year, what they gave him tonight's game. They gifted him tonight's game, and well, you look how good that was. So, I just don't think that this organization has its priorities straight. I don't think that they're making an effort to keep their season ticket holders happy, and I don't think that they deserve season ticket holder renewal at this point. What do you think, Ian?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm in their situation, and I mean, obviously we talk to a lot of season ticket holders, whether it be, on here, social media, what have you, and, I can understand them being ticked off, and, a few shows back, it's probably been a while back now, I kind of likened it to what the Panthers did to their ticket value. Now, look, we're nowhere near as bad as the Panthers, obviously, for attendance, but when you're looking at, what happened to the Panthers, season tickets, when you just give them away, I mean, you're hurting your season ticket holders when you start heavily discounting, because your season ticket will be like, what do I care? I can walk up the day of, get a car wash, get a ticket, and then sit wherever the hell I want because there's no one in the arena. The Sharks got to really tread really carefully here because, again, you want to hold the value of your tickets, and you don't want to lose your season ticket base. Your season ticket base is, it's still, as much as things are starting to shift to TV money now, it's still for the most part a gate-driven league. So the Sharks have to be careful of this.
How about, I know that you guys do talk to season ticket holders on occasion, Wendell. What's your gauge on it, and what do you think as a fan, who could go out and buy a Shark pack and go and get something like that versus somebody who's held season tickets for years?
Well, here's what I think the biggest complaint is, that the season ticket holders really feel like, okay, well, they paid it, they're going to pay it next year, because they keep doing it no matter how much they've been ignored, because it's been a pretty straight line. Now, what the Sharks don't seem to realize anymore is you are not a major hockey market. It is still a off market.
Oh, it's a football town, yeah.
Period. That's
Baseball.
never going to change. Yeah. You have to treat people like this is a special event. The second that happens, this happens. Everything goes to crap. And it's not just the way the team's playing, it's the way that the fans, as I said, we're not seeing the community we saw even last year, which was a terrible season, because there was a community going everywhere because people were just like really into the team. Now with the non-traditional hockey market, they're treating it like it should be Toronto, and we're not. So therefore, people are starting to care less and less, and it's harder to get that just community. And you lose the community, say goodbye to your team.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the biggest difference, because the season ticket holders, they've completely taken for
granted. But they're
granted.
dropping. I mean, they've been taken, but they're dropping. Like they're consistently dropping, and I don't think they've done themselves any favors by doing the stuff that they're doing, as far as just all these other little stuff that they're throwing out.
Chris Edwards on there is talking about Florida wanting a top line winger, and Chris, however much you want to think, Marleau is not waiving his no movement to go to Florida.
Negative.
Or even to Tampa Bay. He's going to either going to stay.
Stamkos.
Yeah, he's either going to stay in California or he's going to end up in New York. I don't think he wants to go to a Canadian market either. What's your gauge on that, Ian?
Marleau to a Canadian market? No, God, no.
Yeah. Wendell?
Marleau's going to retire. I think he's not going to waive it. I think he's going to say, screw you. He's going to finish off his contract. And if he doesn't do what he thinks he can do, I think he's going to say goodbye.
Okay. And what's your guys' thoughts on Thornton right now? I think we've seen him in a pretty big slump, and I think, personally, I think he's really showed a lack of mental...
Give a damn?
No, not give a damn. Like mental sharpness in maybe like the last 10 games. What's your guys' thoughts?
I mean, look, that game in Edmonton might have been one of his worst games he's
Agreed.
ever played in Teal. But, overall, I still think that, he's slumping for sure, but I don't know. I don't want to think about this team without him at this point either.
And now, do you guys think this is an age thing, or do you think that it was because of a specific event, or do you think it's not wanting to be there? What are you guys' thoughts on kind of the why?
I think
age. I think it's
Yeah.
age.
Well, he's definitely getting older, but we also can't give him the same treatment that St. Louis gave Gretzky. Well, you know what? You're one of the greatest ever, and you're slumping for a couple of games. We're going to trade you right now. I think he's slumping. I think he's going to pull it back up. He's getting older. That's the name of the game. You should have been expecting this last year.
Sorry.
Go
Just
ahead.
Gen X in the chat. Just Marlo's like a tick. He ain't going anywhere as long as there's blood in the body.
Yeah, and I think to a major extent Thornton is like that as well.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with Thornton. I mean, like, he's gonna find it. I don't think that he's gonna have like a last year, the season Marlo had last year. I don't think he's gonna be that
Ever.
I don't think he's gonna ever hit that point. I think, but I mean, look, he's been such a key part of the offense for so long that it shows the Sharks don't know how to do without him.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the offense does channel so much through him, and the way he goes is the way that the team goes. But I also think that that's also a problem. I think that that's been a consistent problem of the Sharks since he got here, was that it's basically him and then whoever else pulling up behind him. There hasn't been a true heir apparent to him, and as much as everybody wants Pavelski to be that guy, I just don't see it.
Well, last year we saw Martin St. Louis, or was it the year before?
St. Louis. Yeah.
St. Louis. Yeah, well, he got, they built their entire team around him for how many years? Everything was run around him. They didn't improve until their best player went away. And that's a scary thought. But that worked for Tampa Bay. They became a lot better.
Yeah. Ian, what are your thoughts?
I don't know. Sorry, it's late.
That's some great radio, Ian.
That's fantastic. I know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that you could obviously get value for him. I think the thing with Thornton and Marleau and everyone else, I mean, to me, if I had my way, you go into next year, and if we miss the playoffs especially, you have to show Doug Wilson the door. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but I think you should. Like, to me, I really want a new set of eyes on this team to transition us out of the Marleau and Thornton era. Although one of them, maybe both, will even be that, will probably be back on their next deals. But I don't know. I would rather see the Sharks transition out of the Thornton Marleau era. It's going to hurt. I mean, it's going to hurt. But you know what? It's going to hurt eventually. And I'd rather we get it over with and just tear the Band-Aid off than just kind of slowly peel it off and suffer what's...
No, that's actually a really good point. Instead of people doing the fire Dougie Wilson for no reason at all, just do it because I don't like him, he's spray tan, that at least gives you a reason to get rid of Dougie. It has nothing to do with it's not going to change in the first year.
No.
Period.
Oh, no.
But no, that is actually a really good way of putting that into just a way of thinking. That's why you would get rid of him, not just because of, oh, I hate this team sucks, yeah, blah blah blah. The food's too expensive, whatever. Fire Dougie. No, that's why, is because that transition is going to have to happen. He did some great deals, especially this summer, but it's time to start switching out, because this can be a less painful rebuild with that. If we get rid of him, Marleau, Thornton, and everybody else at the same time, it's a lot more painful of a rebuild.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and then that comes to mind. Well, who's going to take over for him? I mean, who are they counting on to channel the offense through? And I think in my mind, I think it's his number begins with a 4 and ends with an 8. Is who they are banking on to be the next superstar of the team, and that's a lot of pressure for that kid, and I just wonder what he's going to be like in 2 years when he's got the weight of the Sharks on him. I mean, we thought Logan was going to be that guy, but after watching him for so many years, I don't see him as a number one center. I just don't see him being that dominant. He's definitely, in my book, a 1B or a 2.
1B or 2, yeah, I agree with that.
And so I think you're really banking on Hertl taking that next step and being that guy. And right now, his defensive play has sure had an uptick. His faceoff numbers look awesome, but his offensive numbers are a little concerning.
Could you put Pabs back at, like, couldn't you make Pabs your 1C, though? I think Pabs could take 1C for at least a few years until until someone else can basically take the job from him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. So you've got the end of this year, and you've got next year for Thornton and Marlowe on their deals, and pending any trade or anything. So when you come up to the next time to renew, you're basically probably going to go on a year-to-year basis.
I hate everything and everyone right now.
What's
Who
new?
let this guy on?
I hate everything and everyone right now. Thank you for calling.
Wow.
AJ Strong, ladies and gentlemen, AJ Strong.
Just the cameo by just the guy we wanted to see.
He put the whole game into perspective for me.
He really did.
So I feel better now.
Thanks, AJ. You saved the show.
Yeah, sure did.
Where were we?
We were talking about Hertl, and we were trying to, kind of.
No.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I want to throw this out. His numbers still may not be where we want him to be. But Hertl, if he continues to improve the way that he has improved over the last 2 years, so you've just seen a vast improvement. He's not ready yet.
From last year, for sure.
Yeah, not by any stretch of imagination is he ready to be the guy yet. However, if he keeps on with this trajectory of improving the way he has been, I think he can have that shot. It's the other stuff that I think might ruin him.
Yeah,
it's the other leadership responsibility, whatever that means anymore.
I don't think
that's
the thing, though. Your 1C, though, doesn't have to be your captain. Like, no one's expecting. Like, I don't think you should expect Thomas Hertl to have to be your captain to do what he does. Lots of players that lead their teams offensively. They don't have to be captains. The other thing too is, you know what though, I would rather watch that team. The thing is, with sometimes, like, if you have a crappy team, it's always nice to watch a team that works hard, and and I know Sharks fans might have to get used to that, because that's basically, before Thornton, that's what the Sharks were. They're just this happy to be there team that worked their tails off.
Mm-hmm.
I could watch that team.
I love that.
I can deal with that team. And I know it's going to take a little to get used to, because the expectations in San Jose have been so high for so long. But you want to throw Hertl at first-line center, I'm fine with that, because that kid, him, Donskoy, Carlson, those three work their butts off. For all the flack that, European players take, those guys are probably the three hardest working players on that team right now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree, and kind of going off of what we were talking about, MoleRat33 brings up a great point. If McClellan actually would have played Hertl at center last year, would we be seeing even more from him this year?
Probably.
I think so. I think so as well. I think you would have seen his defensive game grow up a little bit last year, and maybe this year he would kind of go into the year thinking, hey, you know what? I'm going to continue to work on my defensive game, but I'm going to really work on my game as a playmaker and really gain that extra step that a lot of those elite playmakers have, that they just kind of sense where that puck is going, and it's hard to develop that, and you, to some extent, you either have it or you don't.
Yeah.
But for a player who's as smart as Hurdle, I think he can develop it, similar to what Pavelski has.
And let me say this. I mean, let him have that opportunity while Thornton is still around to have one of the greatest ever to learn from.
James Shepard, yes.
Wow.
Sharks, you give me such rage.
It makes you drink a lot. It's all good. But you're Canadian, so that's what happens. It's maple syrup and
all the Diet Pepsi.
Molson.
Yes.
Oh, Molson. I understood that. Yeah, I got that.
What do you guys think?
You didn't mean to.
Oh, no. What do you guys think of Tierney's game tonight? I thought he looked good. I thought he had a good game tonight.
I thought he's looked good last few games that he played. I was kind of nervous when they put him up to third line because he's had such struggles this year, and his possession's been kind of garbage regardless of where he's played. But I really liked the game that he played. What was that, Calgary? When they had the cool third line or the cool fourth line, and I thought he was good tonight too. And I he's got to get that puck, like he's got to stop throwing it like Ehrhoff. But other than that,
Well, boy, that
like
two on one where he just deeped the shit out of that Wild player, that Wild defenseman, and then slid it over, and Carlson got hung up by Koivu and didn't get rung up.
Yeah.
That play showed me the kind of potential that kid has, and I know he's got it in him to be a great player like that.
Mm-hmm.
I just
There's a lot more potential. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And I said something this game that Wendell would never say this, and he'll never say it again in history. But wow, Brown looked good.
What? What?
He lost the handle on a breakaway.
I was joking.
All right.
I said throw something in to cheer everybody up.
No.
All right. So there is one topic that's got a bullseye on it that we have not talked about, and I kind of wanted to save it for the kind of the dying moments of the podcast, or dying moments of tonight's show. What did you think of that fourth line?
We had a fourth line?
Yeah, that was my thought too.
Can we have Lurg back?
No, get off this show. You do this on your own show. I'm not putting up with this here.
Bye.
Oh man, you know what? I'm just gonna look up numbers here quick. So talk while I look up numbers.
So if anybody wasn't paying attention, you had a San Jose Barracuda call up Mr. Ryan Carpenter playing his first game. He looked like an AHLer playing an NHLer's game. I mean, he was being pushed around off that puck. He didn't seem very confident.
Highest point getter from the Barracuda, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Didn't look like it.
Had a lot of energy though, which was kind of good. Brown showed a lot of speed, but again, I think maybe even worse than Nieto, who we always like to have be the whipping boy. He's all speed, and you know how Nieto has like maybe 75% hands. We wish he would get that extra 10 or 15%. Let's just say Brown's rocking a cool 20% hands. He's just all speed and just that little bull, but he cannot finish worth anything.
You know what though? I mean, like for a guy playing in his first NHL game, though, I'm gonna cut Carpenter some slack. You know what? I have been watching, the Barracuda, and he has, as you said, top point getter down there. So it's not like he didn't earn the call up. I'll cut him some slack. I mean, the third line, other than Zubris, obviously only played about 7 minutes tonight. So not a whole lot to notice there. Again, I'd like to see them get closer to 10, I think, on the fourth line and just a more even attack. But what do I know?
Is there any Barracuda players that you guys want to see get a call up for that fourth line? There's one guy in my mind.
I just want to see NHLers play on the fourth line. Is that so wrong?
Well, I like there.
Here we go again. Okay.
So you'd rather have marginal fourth line. Well,
No, I would rather. I mean, if I had my way, I would have. Okay, yeah. There's one guy that I'd bring back up is Barclay Goodrow, and I'd put Nieto on there anytime over Brown,
okay.
and then you have a fourth line. You can put Zubris on the line with them, and at least that's an NHL fourth line.
Yeah. There's a kid that's in the in the AHL for the Sharks that I kind of had my eye on last year, who I really wanted to get a contract, and he ended up doing so, and now he's kind of come on a little bit. His name is Jeremy Langolis.
Yeah, Langolis would be an interesting call-up.
And I'd like to see him play on the fourth line, only to give it a little bit more skill. I'd like to see what he has as far as maybe a kind of a grinder, but also has got some scoring touch with Tierney. Because this has got to stop. You can't have Tierney lugging around, Mike Brown and, whatever slugger they want to carry on the team as well, and I think this team would be better served to be 4 centers deep with 4 skill lines and just have some gritty guys who are, more skilled than what we've got as a fourth line right now. I'd rather have Wingles and Gaudreau than I would have Mike Brown and whoever else, Michael Haley, for example.
Right.
Awesome, find them. That's, you know what I mean? That's a lot easier said than done.
I'd also like to see what a healthy Ben Smith can do with an actual opportunity.
Oh, geez.
Because he's on a conditioning stint right now with the Barracuda, so I think you can keep him down there for 3 games, and then he can come back up. So I'd like to see Ben Smith kind of draw into the lineup too, and see if we can, because Ben Smith was the guy I was really excited to get when we first got him, and this year, because Mike Brown has to be played every game, he couldn't get into the lineup, and now I really would like to see give him a real chance, because this is a guy, I mean, if you go back, I mean, Chicago fans were really upset to lose this guy, and we haven't really gotten to see, he played good. Yeah, we haven't really got to see why. Like, he played good, and I thought he played okay in the games that he played last year with T-Mac still coaching, but, I mean, the whole team was such a gong show at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I think even Peter DeBoer has kind of come out and said, hey, look, he might not have gotten the best shot when he was healthy, and and I might not
today
have put
said
him
that, right?
Yeah, put him in the best position to win. So, with Peter DeBoer seemingly looking at his past decisions, and he did that with Dylan DeMello as well, and kind of circling back on them, at least it gives me a little hope that Peter DeBoer is a little more flexible than Todd McClellan was, because once you got in Todd McClellan's doghouse, you weren't getting out.
You're done.
Yeah, Jamie McGinn, once he got in the doghouse, he was not getting out. And, the only guy that I really saw get out was James Shepard, but it took a long time for him. And, of course, Tyler Kennedy got in that doghouse. And,
Day one.
Yeah, and what the hell happened to him? So, at least DeBoer wants to circle back on some things that he, might have thought of at the beginning of the season and wants to take a look at it now. That does give me some hope. But, yeah, I want to see what he does, too. I want to see that line become a skilled fourth line where you have Tierney and Smith and, somebody else, Nieto.
I mean, I'm not really that. I don't really mind Zubris in that spot, to be completely honest. I'm not as sour on Zubris as other people seem to be.
It's interesting because Zubris for me is just he's just there, and that's not the worst thing in the world, because he doesn't look out of place. Defensively he's not bad, and he does kill penalties. But I also think that he's kind of maxed out at his ceiling. What you're seeing is what you're gonna get, and there's no upside after that.
Well, we knew that going in, getting him though too.
Right.
I think it was a good stabilizer, right? I think it helped the team not have to ice Michael Haley and a Mike Brown. At least you can just carry one slugger and not have to have both. But I do want to see somebody with more speed and, to be quite honest, some more skill, because he just, I don't know, he just doesn't. He reminds me kind of Hanzus, kind of like Hanzus, not as slow, but kind of similar. Like he's just kind of there.
The shootout legend.
Yeah.
John, Gen X asked actually a really good question here. If possible, it's just that if you were in Team X Doghouse, might actually be a shit player? How many of these guys that we mentioned were actual impact players? It's a good question.
I mean, I think Jamie McGinn got the short end of the stick, and I know that he did. I know that he had an issue trying to figure out what he was for the Sharks, whether or not he was going to be a banger or whether or not he was going to be a skilled guy. Because it always seemed like he didn't have enough skill to crack the top two lines, but he also wasn't a fourth line checker either.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I don't know that he got the proper shot that he needed, and I don't know that he had the proper cast around him to see what he actually had. So, and then we talk about Tyler Kennedy. Was Tyler Kennedy good? I mean, before in Pittsburgh he was good, but you've got to also realize that you're playing behind Malkin and Crosby.
Line with Stahl.
Yeah, and Stahl. So, was he good? Well, he probably was more of a product of the lines he was playing on. And James Shepherd, well, I think Shepherd probably in his last year was the year that kind of finally put it together as a third-line center. But in the playoffs against L.A., he was not the answer for a third-line center. And I was the one beating the drum of let's move Pavelski back to center and drop everybody down, try and offset those center lines. So I don't think James Shepherd was the answer either. And that we've kind of named some players and kind of gone through this, but boy, this drafting and pro scouting staff is not good.
No.
In particular, the pro scouting staff, the guys that actually look on other teams and say, oh, he might be a good grab, or oh, he might be somebody we want to pick off waivers. It just seems like every time they go out into the free agent market, sans this last year, it just mine coal. They don't get any diamonds,
So did we get new people in last summer, or is this just the luck of the draw?
Oh, no. This is, the same staff is still there. It's been there forever.
So what was the change this year? I said we got some great pickups this year.
That's what we mean. We mean, we actually made good off-season signings this year over...
No, but so my question is, what's made the big difference? Because they've been inept.
I don't know. I think, some of the things that Doug Wilson has done, it's just been issues where you couldn't get guys to sign either. Like when we traded, what did we trade McGinn for? Well, that was the Winnick trade, right?
Yep, Winnick and Gagliardi.
That lasted 2 weeks.
Well, yeah, but I liked Winnick. I thought that was, I really wanted to see Winnick get re-signed, but then, it just didn't work out because he's a hard person to negotiate with. And now I think he's perpetually stuck in Toronto. But But that was a guy that I thought was a good pickup. It just didn't work out, right? You went and traded for.
This shit's over already. Fucking end it, man. End it. Just fucking do it, man.
And that
wow.
Wow.
I guess you didn't like what you had to say.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's what happens when you give out a Google Chat link to your direct message group. Anybody can jump in.
Anyone can jump in.
Anybody want the link? I'll say it right now.
Yeah, just post that into the chat and watch my internet explode.
Hey, well, can't handle that.
No, I think we will be wrapping it up. But what was the difference this year? I just think that the players that were on the market this year, it was kind of hard to fuck it up, right?
Yeah.
There were some good players, and mind you, there were a couple players I didn't want, but it was evident by the fact that we almost ended up with Kevin Bieksa.
Yeah.
And
And that was a very real possibility.
Now, you know who I really had a lot of interest in, and I can't believe they did not look at him, was Francois Beauchemin. I could not believe that Francois Beauchemin?
I know who you're talking about. I'm not with you on this one.
No?
But I will let you wander off on your own here.
Wander into the forest myself? No,
Forest.
I was just interested that we didn't hand him like a 2-year deal or something, you know? I thought that he might have been the younger version of Paul Martin.
He's old, though. He's not young at all.
He's old. He's younger than... I thought he was younger than Paul Martin, right?
Oh, no.
No?
I don't think so.
I'm too lazy to look it up.
I'm looking it up right now. No, he's 35.
Okay, and what's Paul Martin? He's 36, right?
I think they're the same.
Yeah, that year, that makes all the difference in the world.
Hey!
34.
Okay. Oh, he's 34. Okay, so
wow, way off.
Okay, a year older. Well, you know what?
Well, there goes that argument. Quit while you're ahead, bud.
Can't argue with the hockey rule.
I guess you can't. But maybe they should have signed them both, right? At least then we would have had a fifth, sixth guy.
Then we'd still only have 5 D-men.
No, we'd have more D-men. We'd have like a legit D-man because they can't settle on a 6th defenseman right now, and they've basically been trying to give, like Kurz was saying today in intermission, like that the Boris basically tried to give everyone a shot at it, and no one has been able to run with it. They've given Mueller a decent look at it to see if he could break up into the NHL lineup, and they weren't, overly thrilled with him, although I don't think he was as terrible as he's been previously. Tennyson obviously can't hold it down, which kind of surprises me because I thought you'd think that he would have had the inside track this whole time.
By now, yeah.
DeMello, and yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I think it's still going to be an issue, and I think it's going to be an issue the entire year. And I don't see it getting resolved at the trade deadline, to be honest with you.
No, with our cap hit.
No.
Well, man, again, like I said previous, you just ride this year out. You don't have anything to do. You just want to try and get there and not, finish as high as you possibly can. Don't give the Bruins a first overall draft pick, because I think then the tank would explode.
The fan base would all go bye-bye.
Chris, stop it.
So Chris puts in. I'll put this last little nugget in there, and then we'll get off. Listen to a blogger, and I won't mention who, but Burns to forward, roll Vlasic, Braun, Martin, Tennyson, Mueller, DeMello with Dylan as a scratch, and the defense is fixed.
It won't matter, though, because the puck will always be in the offensive zone. We won't have to actually play defense anymore.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be ending up in our net all the time. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think this is time to bring this edition of Pucknology After Dark to a close. I think we're all kind of a little tired, and we're all a little annoyed and a little grumpy.
But this is what it's like having a show with Ian every week, though.
This is what happens.
I mean, you know what? We'll see what happens. But looking forward, we've got the Montreal Canadiens, and oh boy, yeah, you're going into the Bell Center.
Is Price back yet? I've been trying to.
No, Price is not back, but you're also going against one of the better offenses and better defenses, so the goaltending really doesn't matter at this point.
Completely opposite of what we said last year. Outstanding.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny how that works when you have a foundational defenseman back there. But anyhow, Mike Lee says I need to do my laundry. Yes, I do need to do my laundry.
Yeah, it looks like you got a little stuff back there, bud.
Hey, you know what? If the Sharks are sloppy and lazy, I can be sloppy and lazy.
See, now that's the problem with our fan base. You think because they can get away with it, you can get away with it.
Well, for everybody at Pucknology.net, everybody at Teal Tinted Glasses, everybody here at Pucknology After Dark, we thank you for your continued viewership, and we thank you for everything you guys do, all the great memes, all the great chat, and we'll continue going forward. We're trying to push for that 82-0 After Dark kind of record for us, so have a good night, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks again.